Welcome to the Darkstream. Voxday, voxday.blogspot.com, and as always, Castelia House. So, a couple things. First of all, I believe we have the streaming issue set. I believe we have the streaming issue fixed, and we did a test this morning. Stream for 40 minutes with no problems at all. And so very, very pleased to see how this is working. Oh, can you see that? That's funny. I'll have to see if I can figure out how to turn that off. Let's see here. Yeah, we got this. This is gonna be annoying, I think. I need to figure out how to turn off this this focus thing. I've got a new device. I don't know. Other than the frame, does the picture look any better than before? Yeah, it's literally box day at this point. I have this new device that allows me to use the camera that I'm using for Voxiversity, and I'm able to use it now for the I'm able to use it now for the dark streams. It does look better. Okay. And so we've got the mic, we got the new camera. I still need to figure out how to turn off this stuff. You know, it's got the autofocus obviously going, and so we'll have to figure out. It looks worse because it's darker. It's not. I don't think it is darker actually. But anyhow, yeah. So we'll figure out how to get rid of the square. There's also this. You can see up in the corner. There's also this thing that says manual. So anyhow, I'm not going to bother worrying about the box right now. No, it's definitely, yeah, it's definitely a focus issue on the camera, but I didn't realize at first that it was going to actually be showing up. I don't know why would they ever do this? Like ever have it set that way? So, anyhow, the picture should be a little better. I mean, in this dim light, it's probably less clear, but anyhow, you know, we'll experiment with this and figure it out and so forth. Figure out how to get rid of it. But anyhow, what I wanted to talk about tonight is the sociopathy of the SJW media. And as all of you are probably aware, you've probably heard about what happened to Tucker Carlson's family last night, specifically the wife. And so what was really incredible, though, was, you know, Antifa has done this kind of crap before. They've done it to politicians, but now they're doing it to media figures. And they're trying to intimidate them. They're trying to threaten them with violence, get them to, okay, that may be an issue. Let's see here. I'll have to figure out how to get the camera to stay on. Maybe I actually have to hit record. I don't know. I'm going to see if I can hot swap the cameras here. I don't know if this is going to work, but we'll give it a shot. We might have to quit out and pop back in, but I'll let you know. Let's see here. Yeah, this is the literal Darkstream. So the camera just went off because it's not actually recording. So possibly I have to turn it on to actually have it recording while I'm doing this, which strikes me as being kind of foolish, but c'est la vie. I've just plugged this in and it doesn't work. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to quit out, and then I'm going to stay on. I'm going to try quitting out and see if the stream will pick up automatically. So I'll be right back. Are we still live? Yeah, it looks like we might still be live, perhaps. Okay, so did we come back? Are you still there? Let me know if you are. Okay. Yeah, so we're back with the old camera now. Is the image quality a little less than before? There's no box because it's a different camera. How is so the video the quality is what? About the same? Better? Worse? Can't tell. Okay. Yeah, it's a little bit fuzzier. That's what I thought. Okay. Yeah, so I think that device is probably, unless I can do something with the effects, it probably wasn't worth it. But we will see. I'll mess around with it and we'll sort it out. So anyhow, to get back to what we were talking about, the Carlson family was terrorized by Antifa, coming to their house, beating on their door, slamming. They actually cracked the door because they were slamming against it, broke the oak door. So Matthew Iglesias, who is a SJW in the media, he says, he put on Twitter, "I think the idea behind terrorizing his family, like it or not as a strategy, is to make them feel some of the fear that the victims of MAGA-inspired violence," what MAGA-inspired violence? "feel thanks to the non-stop racial incitement coming from Tucker, Trump, etc." Now, this is absolutely ridiculous. This is absolutely ludicrous. I mean, Tucker and Trump are both civic nationalists. They spend all their time trying to appeal to everybody. They spend all their time trying to claim that everybody's an American and America's an idea, and, you know, blacks and whites and Asians and this and that are all really the same and so forth. So there hasn't been any violence coming from the MAGA folks. Okay? Can you imagine how they would react if the right started doing this kind of crap? So then he goes on to say, "I agree that this is probably not tactically sound, but if your instinct is to empathize with the fear of the Carlson family, who are being surrounded and attacked at their home, rather than with the fear of his victims," Tucker Carlson's victims? I don't think Tucker Carlson has ever so much as punched another human being in his life. Then if you empathize with the fear of the Carlson family rather than with the fear of his victims, then you should take a moment to reflect on why that is. Okay, let's do that. I'm going to empathize. I'm going to think, how can I relate to the fear of Tucker Carlson's non-existent imaginary victims? I imagine that they are feeling the terror of a candy corn cornucopia of colors, because obviously we're delving into string theory and multiverses where Dr. Sheldon Cooper is made of candy corn, because there is no actual planet. There is no material existence where Tucker Carlson actually has any victims of anything. Okay? So then he says, I met a woman who didn't leave the house for months because she was afraid of being picked up by ICE, immigration and customs, etc., and never seeing her U.S. citizen kids and husband again. What sense was there in terrorizing her family? Who terrorized her? Who terrorized this woman? Nobody did. Nobody did anything to her. Nobody came to her house. You know? I mean, these people are delusional. They're delusional and they're sociopathic. You know, he has no ability, because he has no ability to empathize. What is a sociopath? A sociopath is someone who lacks a human capacity for empathy. And Iglesias then goes on to say, I cannot honestly empathize with Tucker Carlson's wife at all. I agree that protesting at her house was tactically unwise and shouldn't be done, but I am utterly unable to identify with her plight on any level. Why? Because he's a sociopath. He is literally telling you that he is a sociopath. And there is no way that you can have a civilized society when you have sociopaths like Matthew Iglesias in any sort of position of influence. You know, I mean, these people are delusional, they are sociopathic, and they are evil. Their objectives are evil. Their political objectives, even their ideals, are evil. Okay? You need to understand this. How, when you read that, when you read somebody saying that he literally cannot empathize with a woman who has done nothing whatsoever. Okay? Even if you accept his argument about Tucker Carlson inflicting violence on others. Tucker Carlson, you know, bow tie, kind of a nice, harmless, round face. You know, I mean, the kind of guy that, you know, he's probably pretty smart and probably doesn't know how to throw a football. You know, even if you accept the idea that he has committed all this terrible violence to all these people, how does that justify attacking the house that his wife is in, apparently by herself? Fortunately, his kids weren't there. How does that justify terrorizing this innocent woman who, for all we know, sympathizes with Antifa? I mean, we have no idea. And so, you know, the thing that you have to keep in mind is that the SJWs are flat out, unmitigated evil. You can't reason with them. You cannot negotiate with them. You cannot forgive them. You cannot give them a single inch. Okay? People make this mistake all the time. They make this mistake all the time. You know, you look at what's happening in Comicsgate right now. You've got one group of people like Tim Lin, people like Captain Cummings, people like Nurkish, people like me, and we understand that you cannot meet the SJWs halfway. You cannot work with them. You simply cannot possibly cooperate with them in any way. And then you've got the folks like Two-Face Van Sciver, who is trying to accommodate the SJWs at Indiegogo because he thinks that, well, maybe they'll eat him last. Maybe they'll let him do one more round of crowdfunding before they shut him down. Okay? So that's his decision. That's fine. But we need to understand that those people are useless. Whether they say they're on our side, whether they think they're on our side is irrelevant. They're not on our side. Even if they have some of the same values and objectives that we do, they're useless. We need people who are willing to stand at the wall. And we don't necessarily need a lot of them. But we need people who are willing to stand up for what they believe in, to stand up to defend themselves, to stand up to defend others, to defend others. All right. Joe asks, why is big corporate cooperating with these people? Are they afraid of them? Are they allied? They are allied. Look at who is running the big corporations. I don't know how much of Antifa are, like the low level pedo Satanists. I think a lot more of them are just NPCs. I think that they've been brainwashed and programmed by 16 years of incessant maleducation, of indoctrination. If you just look at them, you can see they're not healthy people at all. I look at these guys. I look at these, Antifa characters. They're in their mid-20s, and they look in far worse physical condition than I am, and I'm 50. Trust me, I feel it. I feel it every time. I work out and stuff, but they're just, they're physically unwell, they're mentally unwell, and they're spiritually unwell. And so, we need to stop thinking that, we just need to reason with them. Don't they understand what this is leading to? Well, if we can only convince them what this is leading to, then maybe they'll change. No, that's not going to happen. That's not going to work. If you haven't read it yet, it's a very quick read. But take a look at 4D Warfare by Jack Posobiec. Whether you like Jack or not, whether you think that he is, spot on or not, he does make a very good comparison of what is developing with Antifa in the United States and the Red Guards in China. And so, there is and like somebody just compared it to, it's also very similar to what happened with the Reds, the Republicans in Spain during the Spanish Civil War. The Spanish Civil War was incredibly, incredibly ugly. And so this same framework is what is shaping up in the United States right now. And it's happening to a great extent because conservatives have absolutely failed to accept the fact that these people are the enemy. And so, you've got all these good conservatives who are more concerned about shaking their finger about identity politics and people who would divide the nation when we should be trying to unite it. It's absolutely ludicrous. It's absolutely a non-starter. And so, the conservative movement has failed utterly because the conservative movement was co-opted by cuckservatives and neocons. Their whole game was to drive the right away from Christianity and away from nationalism. But the only thing that will save the country, that will save the remnants of the country, is Christian nationalism. That's what we're seeing rising in Europe, and that's where you're going to need to turn to find the spiritual, mental, and cultural confidence to stand against Antifa. And that's something that you need to come around to, because a lot of you, I understand, don't want to believe that. I understand that. You want to cling to your Enlightenment values. You want to cling to your tolerance. You want to cling to your hedonism. If you're a woman, maybe you want to cling to your feminism. You can't do it. You can't do it and stand against the evil, because it weakens you. The way that you weaken yourself is you compromise yourself. And when you are compromised, then you are unable to stand against the evil of others. You just don't have the ability. It's like trying to become a bodybuilder, but saying, I'm not gonna lift I'm not gonna work my chest muscles. I'll make my legs real strong, and I'll make my biceps real strong, but I'm just not gonna do any bench because I don't believe in that. I don't believe in working my pectorals. You're not going to become an effective bodybuilder. If you have a military operation and you just decide, well, I understand that, we have to do this operation. We need to, we want to take this objective. We've got all these forces, but I just fundamentally don't believe in artillery. I think that artillery is just wrong, and I just don't believe it's effective. And so, we'll send in the infantry, and we'll send in the armor, and maybe we'll fly some planes, but no artillery. Artillery is just wrong. Well, how effective is your military going to be? Maybe it's going to be effective enough, but it's not going to be as effective as it could and should be. So, Vox, you've been saying that China is going to be the great power, and I agree that they are in the best position, but isn't their declining birth rate a sign that it is decaying from the inside? Well, first of all, that's ridiculous. People always make the mistake of looking at birth rates like it's relevant. Birth rates can change on a year-to-year basis. China is a authoritarian government. Their birth rate is whatever the government decides they want it to be. You know, they don't even feel the need to incentivize people to have more children yet. All they've done is somewhat relaxed their policy of intentionally limiting it. Now, when China decides that they need more people, you can be certain that they will jack that up, and very, very quickly. All right? So you can't just look at birth rates and assume that, oh, well, that's going to continue for 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. What would 4G warfare look like against Antifa? Well, it wouldn't look like anything. It would be a lot of Antifa leaders suddenly ending up in jail or suddenly disappearing. You know, the right is not going, you know, the left has the high ground, the communications high ground. So no matter what you do, no matter what you say, they are going to be spinning the tale however they want to spin the tale. So no matter what you do, even if what you do is absolutely right, absolutely correct, absolutely justified, you are still going to be portrayed as the bad guy. And so, you know, every action has to understand that. You know, you have to be aware that what, you know, I mean, look at how the media tries to paint me. The media has been trying since 2015 to paint me as a white supremacist, hater, anti-Semite, blah, frickin' blah. Now, they haven't been successful in doing that because it's not true at all. But that hasn't stopped them from trying, and it hasn't stopped them from having some minor successes. You know, that's because of the media efforts. As far as we can tell, those media efforts are what allowed Indiegogo to gave them their excuse, which is not actually a legally justifiable excuse, but it gave them an excuse to interfere with our Indiegogo, with the campaign that we had going there. And so that's how it works. This is why Donald Trump says that the media is the enemy of the American people. He's not engaging in rhetoric there. I mean, it is rhetoric, but it's also dialectic. What Trump is saying is absolutely true. The media is literally the enemy of the American people. And so Horatius is correct. He says, to me, people have accepted the narrative that the left is righteous in their violence. No one seems to care, but if one guy on the right does something, everybody is up in arms, completely indoctrinated. That's correct. Unranked Chevron. Did you hear the rumor that Indiegogo canceled Alt Hero Q because of suspected money laundering? Yeah, I've heard that. I've also heard that they canceled Alt Hero because they believe that I am an anti-Semite. I also heard that they canceled it because there was unusual activity. And I also heard that they canceled it because it was too risky. Now, if you notice, none of those four things are consistent with each other. So as you can imagine, we are going to, we're in the process of taking this to the appropriate authority, and we're going to make sure that they are forced to explain themselves to that authority and forced to accept whatever punishment that authority sees fit to deal out. So, ETA on the next Alt Hero Q move. Well, we've already finished the script for the first one. We are actively working on that now. The artist is actively working on that now. We hope to introduce the new site within 2 weeks. We'll see if we're able to do that or not, but that's the goal. And we will be filing our claims, whatever you want to call it, in the near future. So, Crazy Chameleon. These questions amuse me. If the Darkstream is targeted by YouTube, will you think about moving to stream.me? Well, this stream is actually being streamed on stream.me as we speak. So, Ralph says, I support Alt Hero even though I don't read comics, culture, war, donation. I appreciate that. It's an important one. If you say, well, how do we win the high ground? This is how. This is one of the ways how. Support things like Alt Hero, support things like Infogalactic, support things like One Way, support things like Voxiversity and the Darkstream. These are all ways to do it. Any thoughts on the Aquaman movie projected to bomb? Oh, I assumed it would bomb when it was announced. So, I'm not at all surprised. Let's see here. Do you recommend any YouTube alternatives? Well, there's a couple. I've heard some good stuff about, I can't remember the name. It's like BitChain or something like that. I need to look into that one. Stream.me has been very friendly. And they've got some nice tools. Streamlabs is great. And so, it's important to start using these things. If you're watching this, I mean, it's fine to watch this on YouTube. That's great. But make sure that you're also supporting the alternatives. Okay? Vox, when will the next Voxiversity come out? Tomorrow, as it happens. I don't know who this person is. You're avoiding me, Vox. Bye. Bye. You can always tell the gammas. How could you not respond to my comment out of the hundreds of comments? The only possible reason that you could not have responded to my comment is because you're avoiding me, or you're afraid of me, or you can't. I mean, I don't even have no idea who this person is or what he said. Anyhow, is there an unconverged way to watch soccer highlights? I have no idea. Brian says that he's moved his channel to BitChute. JMax says the right-wing men in America are pussy whipped. I don't think that that's true. I mean, it's not women that are keeping them in line. I think it's that they are too influenced by the narrative. Charlemagne says, I'd love to see Owen Benjamin react to your view on posterity in the Constitution. Look, most people are not going to agree with me. I would not have agreed with myself 10 years ago. So people come around to their understandings in their own time. The thing about Owen that I respect is that he is clearly a truth seeker, and he is clearly willing to accept truths that make him uncomfortable. And that puts him light years ahead of the average internet celebrity, talking head, whatever. I mean, there's a reason. Keep in mind, I was nationally syndicated 3 times. Okay? I mean, from a pure talent perspective, that's how good I was as a columnist. That's how popular I was. And yet, I never went anywhere. Why? It's very simple. Because I was too willing to say what I actually thought. I was too willing to write what I actually thought. I was told by the St. Paul Pioneer Press, after I was DJ something or other, probably Carlson, the one conservative on the St. Paul Pioneer Press editorial page resigned. And I had been their game columnist for, 3 years. I was actually nationally syndicated already, so I was only the 6th columnist in their 91-year history to be syndicated. So I went into the editorial director's office and I said, hey, I would like a spot on the editorial page. I've written 2 columns, so you can see that I can write political columns. Can I put my hat in the ring? And he read the 2 columns and he laughed and he said, Vox, we love your stuff. We're happy to run, whatever you think about games and technology, but there is not a chance that we are ever going to put you on the editorial page here. He said, look what you wrote. Look what you chose to write about. You actually wrote an argument against public funding of stadiums. He's like, this paper very strongly supports taxpayer money used for stadiums because it's good for us. He said, do you really think that we're going to allow you to become an editorial voice for this? He said, we can't do that. And so I appreciated that. I respected the fact, that he was willing to just flat out tell me, you don't have a chance. Your views are outside of the acceptable range. Okay. But since then, and this is what's kind of funny, people tell me, oh, you're jealous of Jordan Peterson. You're jealous of Ben Shapiro. I'm not jealous of those people at all. I know perfectly well why they are where they are and why I'm not. And it's because I was never willing to sell my integrity. I was never willing to sell my intellectual soul. Now it's also it's also true that I don't really care. I don't want to run around making speeches at college campuses or, selling tickets to my tour. I don't want to be on TV every night. I don't mind doing this. But as those of you who have watched it from the beginning know, I had to get talked into doing this by my supporters. I needed to get pushed into doing this, and I was really bad at it at first. Now I've gotten to the point where I'm, mediocre. I don't even know how to turn the box off on my camera, right? But the point is that the media is the high ground, the left controls the narrative, and you have to understand that. And everything that you do and everything that you say is something that is going to be used against you. You're not jealous of Jordan Peterson's all-meat diet? Not in the least. I mean, he's 20 years behind my dad. My dad went hardcore keto like 20 years ago. And so I just laughed when Peterson and his daughter are trying to sell that stuff. It's like, jeez. I mean, who doesn't know that? Let's see. In a world without the need to sell out, where real intellectual skill is promoted, I think we'd know what cream would rise to the top. Well, we all know that Taleb's already there. Taleb's so good, it doesn't matter that the whole deck is stacked against him. He still manages to cut through it. Let's see. No, I don't need an IT guy. I just need to read the manual. You know, reading manuals is for the weak. So, would you recommend a white man emigrating to Russia? Not unless you're Russian. Let's see. Are we deplorable for being on the right? Well, I guess it depends who's doing the deploring. Ginsburg, I think Ginsburg is going to either retire or is either, I mean, I think that she's going to retire very soon. She has to know that it's not going to get any better from here. Do you have any suggestions on the best rhetoric to use to red pill people? Well, I think that the best rhetoric is to say, you know, that's not true. Like whenever they come up with that NPC talk, whenever they just spit out SJW narrative, just say, you know, that's not true. You know, why would you say that? And just ask, take the Socratic approach. Just ask a few questions. Why? You know, that's the one question that an NPC can never answer. And the attempt to answer it is usually something that will help. It will cause them to have to think. It will spark thoughts in their mind that they normally would not have. Victor Davis Hanson on Fox talking about the need to restore civility. The right will never learn. Victor Davis Hanson is not even on the right. He's a Democrat. What's behind all the white guys committing mass murders? Well, first of all, you know, the majority of the people in the country are white, so you would expect that. But anyhow, it is a spiritual problem. You know, when you take God away from people, you take hope away. Is the Christian approach of giving water when they're thirsty, praying for them, effective in your experience? Yes, certainly. But that doesn't mean that you put them in the spare bedroom next to your young daughter either. You know, the Good Samaritan did not move the injured Jew into his home. He helped him get fixed up and then sent him back to his own home. There is no civility when you're facing a people that want to destroy what you wish to preserve. That is correct. Do you think Hannity is deep state? I don't think about Hannity at all. So anyhow, well, that's all I've got for tonight. So I will wish you a good evening, and I will hopefully have this camera situation set out the next time. But until the next stream, we'll see you the next time. Have a good evening.